Aniki Nikki 始まるよ。
Hello and welcome to another episode of Aniki Nikki, the show from Japan about stuff from Japan. I'm your Aniki Pato, and today I'm joined by the amazing husband-wife combination, Flora and Steve. Say hello to everyone.
Hello!
Hello!
So in the past, we've mostly talked about anime, but today we're going to do a little something different. As I mentioned in the first episode, I've lived in Japan for about 6 years now, so I more or less know my way around, but that wasn't always the case. Similarly, Flora and Steve have been to Japan a few times, but that first time was something else. So today we're going to talk about our first experiences in Japan and what we wish we knew beforehand that was conveniently left out of all the guides. So I'll start us off today. I actually had two first trips to Japan. One was during spring break on my first semester of college before I spoke any Japanese. I got a round trip plane ticket for $600. Nice. It was very exciting.
Super cheap.
And I stayed with a Japanese friend the whole time, so I didn't have to worry about not knowing Japanese, not knowing how to get places, stuff like that. And my first, I guess you could say, real trip alone was actually when I moved here 6 years ago.
Wait, you went alone?
So,
jeez.
Well, I did, yeah. So actually, when I went to Japan during spring break, I went by myself.
Okay.
And then I went for study abroad, but I went with my parents. They came to with me.
Oh.
And then I stayed. At that point, I spoke Japanese pretty well, so it wasn't really a big deal.
Okay.
And then the third time I came to live, I was by myself again, and I experienced. I thought I was all ready. I thought I'd seen all there was to be seen, but I was wrong. So. So the first thing that I had, the main thing I had a problem with during my original spring break trip was money. I had no concept of the value of money because Japanese yen is so much larger number-wise than American dollars.
Yep,
if you look about $100 American is like 10,000 yen, about. I mean, someone's going to be like, well, it's 103 yen to $1, so it's closer to... Yeah, I don't care. It's about $100. I mean, when I'm changing my money, yeah, I care. When I'm just talking about the relative value of yen, I don't really care. So, anyway, I remember specifically I was shocked because I was in the Jump store. I'm not sure if it's still there, but in the Tokyo Dome is the original Jump store. It was really cool. They had big comic panels outside the doors. Like, the area around the door looked like an opening Shonen Jump magazine.
That's so cute.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. They had panels from Naruto and Bleach and Slam Dunk and all that kind of stuff. It was really, really cool. So I was doing shopping and I was like, oh my god, Prince of Tennis official jerseys. I need this. And I need this. And I was buying phone straps. I remember I bought a Ishida Uryu bleached necklace, his Quincy necklace. I was like, I need that because that's where I was. Yeah,
fucking Ryubu.
Yeah, I was super bad. So I went up to the counter and I dropped all my stuff off, and she was like, beep 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 beep, and she was like, oh, your total comes to 10,000 or 15,000 yen. And I was like, wow, all that for $15? That's ridiculous.
Oof, 1-0 off, buddy.
Yeah. And my friend was like, that's $150. So, whoa, what? But
oh my god,
it's like a t-shirt and some accessories. Yeah. The t-shirt was like $80. I was like, oh.
Japan not cheap, yo.
Oh. But I already had her rung up, and I didn't want to be like, okay, I don't need that, because I was young and awkward. Now I'd be like, whoa, no, thank you. That one, yeah, get out there.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to cancel the whole order? I don't care. Cancel that. But yeah, at that time, riding the subway it felt like so cheap, but then it all builds up over time. And then just in general, not knowing about money was really difficult. So the second experience I had, it's actually not my experience, but it could have been me. It's my mother's experience. Like I mentioned, when I came for study abroad, I came with my parents, and we went to a supermarket, or I guess it was more like a department store. They have a supermarket in it, but the actual thing is a department store. So she was like, "Oh, I need to go to the bathroom." So she left, and like maybe a minute later, not even a minute later, she came like running back out, and she was like crying. And I was like, "What is going on?" And she goes, "I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this." And I'm like, "What are you?"
I know what you're about to say.
What are you not ready for? And she's like, "The toilet is just a hole in the ground." I was like, oh, yeah. Now that got me too, when I came for that mini trip. But I just avoided them. I was like, I don't even know how to use this. Like, I don't know which way you're supposed to face.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we avoided them too.
So common too. They're so common. Like, especially like in train stations and public areas, like park restrooms, any kind of public restroom.
Dude.
And I mean, it makes sense because it's a lot more sanitary if you think about it, because you're not putting your butt on who knows what.
Yeah, sure.
But
like even Japanese avoid them too. Like I've seen that in train stations. They'll open the door and they'll see that it's one of those holes, and they're like, "Nope."
Yeah, like not today.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Not in this suit.
Yeah. I was like, no, absolutely not. Even when I was in Hong Kong, I was like, absolutely not. Oh god, it was awful.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm a lady, man. I can't do it. I don't have those calf muscles.
Can you imagine trying to do that when you've like literally never done it in your entire life? To just like get your shit together and do because it in a foreign country. You did?
That's...
I mean, I was like, I'm about to.
Were you in the middle of nowhere?
Poop my pants.
Is that why?
Yeah. Well, I was in a train station, and that's all there was.
Oh my
god!
Now, really?
Now it's different. This is a different Japan from where it was 8 years ago.
Yes,
or 9 years ago,
I do like how much clean. I like how the bathrooms at the train stations are so clean. I can go and no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at that time, they were all squatty potties, and I was like, oh, I can't wait. So I was like, Jesus, take the wheel. And I went in and I did it. And I'm like, I'm really sorry if I'm doing it wrong, but it's, my aim was true, and
oh god,
I think it's okay. So,
oh man.
But yeah, and it was terrible because, if you live in Japan for any long amount of time, you will undoubtedly run into old ladies cleaning the bathroom while you're trying to use it.
Oh my god!
Oh man!
And she looked me in the eyes when I was like about to go in there, and she was like, "Are you gonna try it?" And I was like, "Oh, I can't back down now anyway because
oh my god,
it's that pressure."
I was like, just like gave her like the little nod, and I like walked into the bathroom, and I'm like, oh, I hope I don't like. I wish she was not
so
there.
grossed out right now.
Yeah. So, my advice is scope out the bathroom situation often, so you don't get stuck on a squatty potty if you're not comfortable with it.
Yeah, but if you're in Japan, go to the train stations. They're just much better than here, the U.S. Whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're very well maintained.
That's really good advice. Is don't be afraid to use public toilets. Like
yes, if you're at the train station and you're about to go for a long walk out, just use it at the train station. It doesn't matter. Just go do it there. So because you might not know when your next bathroom is.
There is one drawback though to public restrooms is there's no paper towels. Not a thing in Japan.
True.
You have to bring your own towel, and most Japanese do. Most Japanese have some kind of side pack or a backpack on them, and that's where they keep it. Or some have even kept it in their pocket, and they pull it out to dry their hands, and then they go all along their way. But for a foreigner, you go in there and you're like, what the fuck? Where are the paper towels? And you don't know what to do.
I just combed it for my hair.
You just
I'm
slick
like,
it through your hair.
hair.
Slick it through your hair, man. You do what you got to do.
That's actually a really good point. Bring a handkerchief. So in Japanese, we call them handkerchief. They're actually closer to like washcloths.
In like texture, they're more like washcloths.
Yeah. I mean, you go to a drugstore, you can get one for $1.
A lot of places will give them
your life a lot better.
A lot of places will give them to you as like a gift for like buying something.
Yeah, that's true.
And I bought a backpack once because I didn't bring one, and Flora yelled at me for not bringing one. So I had to buy.
Yeah, because I was carrying everything.
Yeah, so I had to buy one on the street, and then so I bought it one. It was $10, and then after I bought it, this woman, she says, "Oh, here's a gift for you," and it was one of the washcloths. So
very nice.
There you go.
So
yes, I still have it.
Yeah, it was a nice pattern too.
All right, so my third point is going to be I forgot for a minute. Oh yeah, cab drivers. So this is another thing that's kind of changed, and it's not only cab drivers, but it's just the infrastructure of Japan. Japan has no street signs because they have no street names. And you think, well, how can people possibly, navigate without that kind of stuff? I don't know. I don't know how people do it.
Well, they go by landmarks, don't they?
Yeah. But, like, if you're, like, by yourself in a new area, I guess that's why a lot of places, if you look up stuff in Japanese, it'll be like, it's like picture guides to get everywhere. Right. Nowadays, we have GPS on our phones, so it's easy. But remember, so here's the story, basically. When I moved to Japan, I got a job in Japan beforehand. But I actually got that job like 2 weeks before I left. So my original plan was to come to Japan and then look for a job here, because a lot of the job postings say that you have to already be in Japan so they can conduct the interview in person and stuff like that. So So I was like, all right, I found a housing company that does like monthly leases for foreigners, and it's affordable. So I was like, oh, if I have a month, I can find a job, no problem. I'll take whatever I can get, any eikaiwa work, whatever, it's fine. So that was my plan. I got the apartment and everything, and then 2 weeks before I left, my friend was like, hey, I know a guy who works for a company, and do you want a job? I was like, yeah, I do. So I got a job through that introduction. So now I was left with this thing, well, I can't cancel my apartment, so I guess I'll just go live in Tokyo for a month before I start work. So I arrived in Japan, and like I said, I've done this a couple times at this point, so the Narita thing is fine. I get on the train. I get to my train stop. It's taken a while at this point because it was a pretty local area that my apartment was in. So I go to the cab area because I'm hauling around like 200 pounds of luggage in a variety of bags, and I was like, okay, so hi, Mr. Cab Driver. Here's a map, and here's the name of the building. Can you take me here? And he's like, no, I don't know where that is.
What?
I was like, what? It seems like it's very close. And he's like, yeah, I don't have a GPS in my car, so I can't do that. Now in Tokyo, I think every cab has a GPS.
Wait, what year was this? Area. Like 2013?
What year was this?
Yeah, this was 2011.
Okay, I think that's a little more understandable because it was like. Yeah. I don't think...
But, I mean, still in my area, they don't have GPS in their cabs. Like, in Tokyo, they do, for sure. But in my area, it's pretty hit or miss. So...
That's so anyway, weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I'm in Tokyo, and I was like... He's like, I don't know where that is. And I'm like, oh, all right, I guess I'll try the next cab driver. Like, hey, do you know where this is? And he's like, no.
Oh my god.
What the fuck?
All right. Well, there's some instructions here, so I guess I'll try it on my own. So I started walking down the street, carrying all my things, and I got so lost. Now, I didn't have a phone. I didn't have a Wi-Fi thing because, I was planning my new life in Japan. Why would I rent a Wi-Fi thing? There was internet at my apartment waiting.
Yeah.
So I'm carrying all my stuff around, and I got lost for about 4 hours.
Oh my god.
And at one point, the wheel of my suitcase, it broke off.
Oh no.
Or the outer rubber part. I guess I got what you would consider a flat tire on a suitcase.
Oh my god.
The outer rubber parts came off. I think it was damaged in getting off the plane or getting on the plane or something because it was making a noise and then it just completely came off. So
God.
I'm walking around forever and I was I remembered my Japanese class from university 4 years prior, maybe more, because I had worked for 2 years in between university and coming to Japan. And my teachers had always said, if you ever go to Japan and you get lost, go to a Koban police box and just ask for help.
Oh.
So I was like, I gotta find a Koban. So I actually found one, and I kind of and I was so tired and super sweaty and smelly, and so I opened the door and I'm like, "Sumimasen," and they're like, "Oh, whoa, this is not a part of Tokyo where we usually see foreigners. Hi." They're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I'm trying to get here and I don't know where it is." And they're like, "Oh, I see. Well, oh yeah, here's Gusto. It's for those of you who don't know, it's a family restaurant chain like Denny's."
Okay.
Oh yeah, Gusto. Yeah, we know Gusto. And then you go up here. Okay, yeah, all right. Yeah, you were pretty close, but now you're not. I was like, oh. So they say, all right, what you should do is you should go back to the station and then walk up this way, and then you should be fine. I'm like, all right. So I walked back to the station. I'm really tired, and I. It turns out I had actually passed the place.
Oh wow!
Because I was expecting big signage outside, and there was nothing. It was just a normal apartment, very unassuming. Not even so. Apartments all have names in Japan.
Yeah.
And they're always in English. I used to live in one called Grass Hill. I lived in one that was called Corp, CORP, Core, I guess.
Capsule Corp.
Yeah,
kind
Capsule
of a Corp.
Yeah. And then I lived one that's Grace Villa and stuff like that. So, they have these weird names. So I expected to see this name on the side of the building or something, and it was not. So the big takeaway from this is, number one, always prepare your route ahead of time or have a navigation unit. And if you get lost, go to a Koban because they will save you.
That is very good advice.
At least they saved me. All right. Well, that went for a while. So, Steve, Flora, let me tell you about let you tell me about your trip.
Okay.
All right, Steve, you go do your.
All right. So, yeah, I have quite a few things that I want to talk about. I want to talk first about the first time we visited Japan, and we have a similar agony story that you just told us.
Oh yeah, I was like, this is all too familiar.
Yeah, the first time we came to Japan was in October of 2015. It was our first trip, and we actually had a travel agent arrange most of the details, like the hotel accommodation, the all the train transfers and the bullet train, the flights, yeah, everything. That we did it through Liberty Travel actually, and the person that set us up, it was the first time that she ever booked a Japan trip, and she did a really good job. There were very few issues on her trip. However, after we took our flight and we arrived, we went to Haneda Airport. Haneda is much closer to the major sites of Tokyo. Not like Narita. Narita is like what an hour drive to get anywhere interesting.
At least
in Tokyo.
It's in Shiba. It's not even. They call it Tokyo Narita, but it's not even in Tokyo.
Yeah. It's like super far. Yeah. So anyway, we arrived in Haneda, which was much better. So we get there, and we decided that we weren't going to take any kind of transportation. We were going to, any kind of private transportation. We decided we're going to take a train. We're in Japan, damn it. So we're going to take... we can do this. So ahead of time, I mapped out how to get there, what train we had to take, what stop we had to get off at, and some general directions once we got out of the train station. The problem is, in Japan, there are many, many exits to get out of a train station. There's north, south, east, west. Like there's a lot of exits to get out. So we just got out of any of them, and us being Americans, we didn't know that there's a lot of exits to get out of a train station. So we got out, and I look at my directions, and it's not matching anything that we were looking at.
I think we're in Shinjuku, right?
Yeah, our first stop was Shinjuku. It was the Washington Hotel, I think. It was off one of the main streets of Shinjuku. It was fairly close to the like nightlife district. There's a lot of ramen shops and bars and stuff like that. So
that was nice.
So we just started walking, and we just kept walking and walking and walking. And we just like couldn't find.
And Steve was just, you could tell he was just getting mad. I was like,
I was
like,
kind of losing my patience because we were walking for about an hour and we just couldn't find this stupid place. And so eventually I did figure it out. The map actually was pretty helpful, but yeah, it's to your point that the streets aren't named, and it's really hard to find anything in Japan if you...
It was kind of a weird location, too, the building. It was kind of like behind another building. It was like, you wouldn't have never seen it.
Yeah, it was very inconspicuous. There was no large sign or anything for the hotel. It was very conspicuous, and it was also in Japanese, like katakana, like Washington Hotel. And so it was very conspicuous. And we didn't have any Wi-Fi because the way most Wi-Fi devices work is, or the services that offer these to you work, is they'll ship it to your hotel and then you get it there. There are others that will send it to the airport and you can pick it up there, but they're much less. So we had one that sent us to the hotel. So there was just this small window of time where we were basically on our own and we had no help whatsoever. And I didn't know that like you can't get Wi-Fi anywhere in Japan, and you can kind of talk about this too, where go ahead.
Well, let's talk about both Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi, and pocket Wi-Fi in Japan. So when you're coming to Japan, there's generally two options you have. One is you can get a SIM card for your phone, either data only or data and calling, or you can do pocket Wi-Fi, like Steve's talking about. Mm-hmm. Now, my mother, when she came the last two times, she had a pocket Wi-Fi delivered to the post office inside Narita Airport, and she picked it up there.
Oh, that's nice.
Now, the first time, it was wonderful. My dad got the SIM card when they came for my wedding. He got the SIM card, she got the pocket Wi-Fi. It was like, perfect. Now we can figure out which one's better. And the SIM card was awful to work with.
Really?
He had his phone unlocked and everything, and it would just randomly not work. And we had no idea why. He ended up using her pocket Wi-Fi for most of the trip. He was really mad about it. He's like, next time I'm getting pocket Wi-Fi too. This is BS. So
wow.
But this time, more recently, my mother came again, and she got a pocket Wi-Fi again, and it was terrible this time. We had to keep resetting it. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Let me talk about this real quick because we had a similar experience. Okay. We had I think most pocket Wi-Fis use AU, the mobile company AU, and the first pocket Wi-Fi we got for our first Japan trip would constantly lose connection, and there would be no signal whatsoever, and you had to like
especially during navigation.
Yeah, especially during navigation, and I had to reset it multiple times throughout the day in order to get to work. Was that what happened to your mom?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then I was on her Wi-Fi too, so I was, because we would be showing like YouTube videos to my son, because he doesn't like being in the car, and then I wouldn't realize that it like lost connection, so I like used up all my data by accident. It was terrible. So regarding public Wi-Fi, now this is something again that has been changing rapidly over the years, but there is a really big lack of free Wi-Fi in Japan, even in Tokyo, compared to the rest of the world. Like, I felt like when I was in America, even 6 years ago, like anywhere you went, you'd be like, oh yeah, free Wi-Fi, no problem. Like in Japan, it's just not like that. Like, a lot of the times they'll say, oh, free Wi-Fi, but there's like a catch. Like, you have to be a member of some either a cell phone company or, for example, there's an internet provider, Fletz Hikari. If you're a member with them, you can use any of their Wi-Fi hotspots. So, like, it's free in the sense that you don't have to pay $6 or whatever to use it for an hour, but it's also not free because you have to already have a membership.
Right.
And even convenience stores, like, I know 7-Eleven has, they have Docomo Wi-Fi, and then I'm pretty sure they have now, like, public Wi-Fi for like a half hour or an hour, because I always see kids sitting outside 7-Eleven with their 3DS, like downloading stuff. So, and I know Ministop for sure has hour-long, and McDonald's gives you an hour-long Wi-Fi thing. You don't even have to buy food. Like in America, you had to, when I was there anyway, you had to buy like a meal and then give you a Wi-Fi code. But you can just like be near McDonald's and it works. So but I really, really highly recommend, if you're coming to Japan, either getting a pocket Wi-Fi or a SIM card. Even they don't work all the time. Sometimes it's really terrible, but even if you have to reset it all the time, it's much better than being stuck with absolutely nothing.
Yeah, pocket Wi-Fi...
Especially if you don't speak Japanese.
Yeah, pocket Wi-Fi is really great. The great thing about pocket Wi-Fi is you can have multiple devices on it at a time. So one person can just hold the pocket Wi-Fi in their backpack, and you get Wi-Fi for everyone in your party. I think it supports up to like 6 devices at one time. So it's really nice that, everybody that's with you can have an internet connection with just one device. So you only have to rent one.
Of course, if someone walks away, that's a different story.
And that's happened before. So like Flora would go to the bathroom, and I would be like just wandering the department store, and she would just lose her connection. So it was kind of like a lot.
I usually had to see. It's like, oh man, I have no internet. I gotta find Flora.
Yeah, but it's like a lost child. It's like a lost child situation. You just like lose your partner, and they just walk away, and you have no way of contacting them.
We lost each other a lot.
Yeah.
I was like, where's Steve? I can't find him.
Yeah. So I think pocket Wi-Fi is definitely the way to go, and like it worked in all places. We went to all sorts of locations in Japan, even like remote locations, like on top of a mountain. Like we climbed a mountain in Hiroshima. There's an island that's right off the coast of Hiroshima, Miyajima. It's pretty well known for. There's a large torii there. That's what it's like well known for. And there's a mountain that you can climb. There's like a ropeway that takes you up to most of it. And there's like a summit that you can like climb yourself, but there's like a spot where it'll just take you. And even at the very top, we got internet connection, which I thought was absolutely fucking wild because we were so high up and in the middle of nowhere, especially in like a city like Hiroshima. Hiroshima is a pretty old-timey sort of town.
It's pretty modern these days, though. I mean, like it looks modern to me when we visited.
Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's been rebuilt, obviously, and it's pretty modern now. But it just gave off that kind of like old city type of feel. But Anyway, Pocket Wi-Fi is great to have. I mean, it's like $50 for like a full like 10 days. I mean, it's like absolutely worth the money.
What Steve is trying to say is Pocket Wi-Fi is amazing, and if you're going to Japan, please use it because it will help you in every step possible way.
It's great.
But you have to get to it first, of
It's
course.
great for GPS. The thing about GPS is technically you don't need an internet connection for GPS. You can like put in the coordinates and it'll like tell you where to go. But if you want to search for like an actual like establishment, you need an internet connection. So that's where the Pocket Wi-Fi comes in handy. Especially because streets aren't named. So
yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So
I mean, I get lost here. You can imagine how in Japan I was like, oh, I guess I'll follow Steve.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just homeless now.
Yeah, pretty much. So the next thing I kind of want to talk about is, and this is very shortly after we arrived in Japan. We arrived in Shinjuku and we finally got our hotel. So we went out like right afterwards because we were in Japan. So let's check it out, man. So we went to that nightlife district that I was talking about earlier, and we just ducked into one of these ramen places, just like a random ramen shop. There was a person outside that was kind of like selling it, and so we went in and we got the menus, and I was looking at it, and I'm like, all right, there's no English on this menu, so I called the person over, and I'm like, so you guys got any English menus? And they're like, no. I was like, oh.
Wait, Steve, were you asking in Japanese?
No, I was actually asking in English, actually, because...
you weren't feeling confident about your Japanese.
I wasn't confident in my Japanese yet. I had to kind of, like, feel it out first. So, the first, like...
Well, it's a scary experience. I mean, not to derail too much, but I had the same thing where it took me a while when I came for study abroad. I was used to, conversing in Japanese with people in America, but when I came to Japan... and it was like real go time. It was really, intimidating.
Yeah.
And I kind of defaulted to speaking English because people were like, "Hello," and I was like, "Hi, can I have this, please?" Like, beat myself up later.
I totally understand that because like my family speaks Chinese. I don't even try to speak Chinese because I'm like, you're gonna make fun of me anyway. I'll just speak English or just don't even talk at all. So I understand.
I think the thing about speaking Japanese in like an American like educational environment is you kind of know what to expect in terms of what they're going to say back to you. With a Japanese person, you just really don't know what kind of response you're going to get because they're fluent in the language, so they're going to use any words that come into their head to respond to you. In an environment where you're still learning, there's set words that you're going to be using in order to get your point across. But with Japanese, it's not like that. So it's very intimidating to go up to a person and ask them a question and not know what they're going to say in response. And you may not understand what they're saying, and that makes for a rather awkward conversation. So that was what intimidated me the most, just like that unknown of like what they were going to say back to me. So it took a few days into the trip for me to finally start using Japanese, and
people were like, "Oh."
I mean, in Tokyo, I think they didn't really care that much because
some people were surprised, especially when we're out of Tokyo. I mean,
yeah, and we'll get to that. But anyway, So in Tokyo, sometimes you go to restaurants that just have no English menu whatsoever, and you have to have this awkward conversation where you just like point at a menu and say, "I want this." And they just like give you this awkward nod, and then they just like go away.
I didn't feel awkward about it because I always like to point to pictures in English menus. So I'm like, oh, this one because I can't pronounce that. To me, that's not a foreign concept.
Yeah, that's true. You do that in America, which is really awkward.
I'm like, I want this one. I want number one.
just put numbers on my menu.
Well, I mean, that's a good point about menus too. Is that a lot of times, if you're not going to a like self-owned restaurant, almost everywhere has picture menus. Mm-hmm. So like you can kind of guess.
And they also have those fake food outside the restaurants. I love looking. I was like, oh, look at the food you could be eating. That's how they get you. I was like, if I can't figure it out, I'll go out there, I'll point this. I'll be like, this one.
They're really serious about those fake dishes outside the restaurants. They're like, that's an actual like business of making.
Yeah, my
like
sister
that.
actually went to a factory where she saw them make food, or she went to see something like it. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, I heard I took a bus tour one time, and the bus tour guide said that like almost all of those things are made at like one factory in Japan, like at least of the Japanese like local ones. Mm-hmm. It's like their thing, and like no one even like bothers trying to compete with them because they're just so strong already. It's like an unofficial monopoly.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah, if you've never seen them before, it's definitely wild. It's definitely higher quality than anything I've seen in America in the same vein of things.
Yeah, I think
we can't compete.
The really intimidating restaurants are the ones that have no pictures at all. Like we were taken to a restaurant that had no picture menus whatsoever. Like, remember, Flora, we went with Evan in Osaka. Do you remember that? It was like on the second floor. We had to climb up some stairs.
Oh, I probably just kept climbing. Like, I don't know. I'll just eat anything because I can't read a damn thing.
He ordered for us because he was like, "Trust me, guys, I got this." So we were like, "Yeah, whatever you want, man. It's cool." But yeah, like I looked at the menu. I'm like, "Holy crap, man! This must be crazy intimidating for someone who doesn't speak Japanese, man."
Well, we had that same experience during my wedding where it was the hotel of the wedding. There's like my mother, my father, my stepdad, my stepmom, my godparents, and my cousin. And so it was like a big group of people. It was like 10 people. And there was nothing in the menu had pictures or English. So I had to sit there.
Oh, gosh.
Was this during the reception?
No, this was like at nighttime the night before.
Oh, okay.
And the night after.
Yeah, because
in the hotel restaurant itself.
Yeah, because the menu at the reception didn't have anything either. There were no pictures. Yeah. At least I don't think there were. I don't remember there. Well, there was a menu because they were like telling you what the courses were going to be, but they were all in Japanese, and I don't remember there being any pictures. So I was like trying to read it, and I was like, it's some kanji I don't know. Some kanji I don't know.
There's going to be like 10 people that don't speak Japanese. I'll just go.
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't
really
care.
Expensive to put English on it.
It's not a big deal.
I eat pretty much anything, so I was like, oh, this is yummy. Seems like I'm not really eating that.
I mean, I ate most of it though. Food was good.
There were some weird items, but I was like, I'll eat it. Not a big deal.
Yeah. But yeah, so at nighttime, I had to read down the entire like 4-page menu to my whole family, and they kept on being like, wait a second, can you go back to this one? What's in that? And what is this made from? And I'm slowly losing my mind.
Like, I don't like onions. Can they make it without onions?
Yeah.
Shut up,
like it is like 3 or 4 people at once being like, what about this one? What this one? Which one was this one? Like, one at a time, please.
Everybody, raise your hand.
This is the first time. Yeah. So yeah, menus are tough. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
So what would be the? Oh, I guess what the way to combat that is that Google Translate camera, where you just like point at things.
Yeah.
And it translates for you.
Oh, it's super useful.
If you don't have that, you should get that. People listening.
Yeah.
There is also like some restaurants actually says English menu available outside the store, so I can read that. I was like, cause they want the foreigners to come in, so they usually have that out too.
It was most prevalent.
That's a good point.
It was most prevalent in.
I look for that stuff because I could read it.
It was most prevalent in Tokyo, especially the second time we visited, because it was 2017, and they were kind of getting ready for the Olympics that are happening in 2020. So I think they're kind of like gearing up for all the foreigners that will be visiting their country in the coming years.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely more English friendly the second time around.
Yeah. We went to a ramen shop where one of the actually it was the only waitress, wasn't it? It was a very small ramen
she was
shop.
speaking perfect English. I was like, oh, I can talk to somebody else besides Steve. It was very nice.
Well, she told me she told us she was from L.A., so this kind of makes sense.
And the ramen there was so yummy too. You can customize like the thickness and the was really good. I can't remember the restaurant name though.
Yeah, I can't remember either. It was in Shibuya. It was in Shibuya though.
Shibuya.
Yeah. It was on one of the main streets that doesn't have a name because no streets have names. So.
Yeah, is it the street with this store or is it the street with that store?
Yeah. It was close to the train station.
Good luck finding that store again because you'll never see it again.
I know, right? Well, it was like the middle of the night too. It was like 9 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock, something like that. We were coming home from something.
Yeah,
and we were really hungry.
The ramen was so good.
Yeah,
but food is a whole nother topic. We can talk about that later. So
yeah,
that is a future topic.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll have you guys on that one.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on. Let's talk about another topic. So the next thing I want to talk about is, and this was the next stop. One of the next major stops on our first trip to Japan was Akihabara. Akihabara is
definitely a popular destination.
Yeah, for those who don't know what Akihabara is, for anyone who likes anime, manga, video games, anything of that sort, Akihabara is where you want to go. It's a district. Yeah. It's a district in Tokyo. It's on the Yamanote line, right?
It is.
Yeah. So it's really not that far. It's one of the stops on one of the main train lines in Tokyo, and you can spend an entire day there, even multiple days, and still not see everything. There's just so much to take in.
It was crazy. When we first went there, we're like, we're finally in the motherland, and we took like pictures. And I was like, oh my god, we're finally here.
Yeah.
It's like my Japanese animes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to talk about another side of Akihabara, though, and this is something that's like not really that well known. Is that
What, the nighttime one?
No, I can talk.
Sorry, that's another story.
I can talk about that, and maybe I will near the end. But Akihabara, from what I've researched and found, just from firsthand experiences, like a lot of the pricing for goods is higher than where you would find from a smaller shop somewhere else in Tokyo or maybe outside of the city. And I've heard that it's because tourism for that sort of entertainment is so much larger than it used to be that companies are now catching on, and they've started charging, a premium for these goods. And foreigners don't know any better. I mean, it's hard enough for them to figure out what the value of money is. And I mean, you talked about this already. It's hard to tell what's expensive and what's cheap. So they just set the price to whatever they think is good, and foreigners will say, yeah, sure, we'll buy it. And even for Japanese too, because Japanese visit Akihabara all the time, and they still pay the money, and that's just their business model at this point.
Yeah, I think, in my personal opinion, with no base in any kind of studying or anything, is I think a part of it is also kind of a convenience tax. Like,
yep, that's how I saw it.
When you go to Akihabara, you'll be able to find what you're looking for.
Right.
Like, and like, I think the thing that you can most easily see exactly what you're talking about is the very, very popular store Super Potato.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Super Potato is a retro gaming store. I mean, it says retro, but up to PlayStation 2 is, I guess, now retro because it's not supported for like a long time. So
yeah.
But basically, like, if there's a Famicom game that you want, it's there. If there's a Super Famicom game you want, it's there. Even really, really rare games like Mother 3 for Game Boy Advance, they always have a copy there. I actually bought Mother 1 and 2 for Game Boy Advance there.
Oh.
And I paid a lot of money for it. I mean, not a lot of money, but considering it's an ancient Game Boy Advance game, a lot of money.
Sure.
And I couldn't quite get myself to pay for Mother 3 because it was just too expensive. Even now, I mean, it's been released on Virtual Console at this point. At that point, it was not. So it was like $70.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in America where Suikoden 2 was like $100 for the longest time. Then it was released on PlayStation 1 Classics on PlayStation 3. And the price dropped down to like $20 because you could get it now. But So for Mother 3, it's still like $40 in Akihabara, but it's there.
Right.
I mean, I can't tell you how many other stores I've been to in various parts of Japan, looking for it, hoping to get like a good deal, and it just not being there.
Right.
And I think, a lot of that is because people in Tokyo area are like, well, if I'm going to go and sell my stuff, I'm going to go to Akihabara. If I'm going to buy stuff, I'm going to go to Akihabara.
Right.
Like,
that makes sense.
So
that's really interesting.
It keeps the prices like pretty settled, and but on the higher end of things. Now, sometimes that if you're buying used stuff, it works out in your favor because so many people sell it so that the prices drop down really hard. Like I went to Akihabara a few weeks ago with my friend Jordan, and I was able to get Danganronpa 1 and 2 on PlayStation Vita. Now, in my area, it's like $30, but in Akihabara, it was like $15, and there was like a ton of copies.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I actually bought a Nintendo Switch there because it was, get this, $60 cheaper in Akihabara than in my town.
What?
For used?
Yeah. So I was looking at the box, and it was like, whoa, 23,000 yen? That's like so cheap. That's including tax. Like, I'm like,
yeah, that's
man,
really
this must
good.
be like messed up. Like,
what happened
says,
to
like,
it?
Oh, it says, scratch on the screen and some damage on the controllers. So I was like, can you show me how much damage there is here? Oh, no, yeah, of course. So they go up, it's like super plastic wrapped because they don't want people stealing it.
Sure.
And there's like 5 security sensors inside. So they cut off like all this tape and all this plastic wrap, and I'm starting to feel really bad. I'm like, what if I say like I don't want it? I feel really bad about that.
Yeah.
And he takes it out, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's no damage on this. And I was like, can you show me like where's the damage? Oh, so he like takes it up and he like gets it at just the right angle in the light. And he says, "Oh, you can see there's like a hairline scratch here." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Well, what about the controller? And the two of us looked for the damage on the controller, and we couldn't find it.
Wow,
like,
that's fantastic.
And he's like, yeah, and he's like, well, if we couldn't find it, I guess it's not really something to worry about. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to buy that now. But the thing is, since they get so many stores or so many sales of used stuff, their concept of what is high quality in Akihabara and what is low quality is so skewed. So you have you can't even see scratch unless you're looking at exactly the right part. And that was marked off like $20 just because of that.
That attention to detail, man.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of like a double-edged sword where if it's a rare thing or a new thing, like a thing in box, it's going to be mad expensive. But
right.
If it's a used thing that a lot of people sell, it's going to be super cheap. So
right.
You got to know what you're looking for, and you can't impulse buy in Akihabara. If you do, you'd definitely be sad. I paid way too much for some trading cards and stuff in Akihabara because I was like, they have it, and I bought it, and then I like found it at my local shop later for like $5 cheaper. So I was really mad about myself.
Yeah,
for a while,
yeah, we kind of did the same thing. I bought a few things and I went to another store. I was like, oh man, I could have gotten it a little bit cheaper. I was like, well, fuck it, then. There's nothing I can do about it,
Yeah.
So sorry to kind of derail your topic, but
that's okay. I mean,
we like Super Potato, so it's cool. Steve loves Super Potato.
I do.
It's a great store, and I've bought a bunch of stuff there. It's just you got to know going in that if you look a little bit harder, you could probably find it cheaper somewhere else.
They don't always sell games. Actually, I bought some Kirby, I bought a little Kirby bag there, and so we got a Kirby cup there. It was like we got like a little. You can get little game accessories too, not just games. It's
very
a
true.
Fun store to see. Even if you're not into the games, there's so many cute little things to look at, So I highly recommend visiting it.
It's a really cool store. The whole concept of the used markets is so crazy in Japan. The concept of used in America is just not really as prevalent as it used to be. Like, you remember years ago when music stores were really popular, and you would go in and you could buy like a CD from like years ago for super cheap because it was used. Because the market was a thing, but it's not so much in America anymore. But Japan is still really thriving on it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. We actually went to a store that sold used figures. I didn't even know that was a market. That was something that you could like walk into and buy. Like we bought figures for half price of what it would be normally new. And I was like, wow, really?
Yeah. I've had multiple times. Go ahead.
Oh, I was to say I got a Conco figurine for like $3, and she was normally like $20. I'm like, yeah, sucker.
Yeah, and if you bought if you bought
okay.
like 3 of them, they would give you like an extra 20% off. That like the guy told me that. I'm like, wow, really? That's awesome. So just like
and they had the boxes too in that store.
Yeah, and it was just like so much incentive to buy something extra if you were going to get a little.
But we couldn't find that store again because we can't find anything in Japan. Once you leave,
yeah, man.
You cannot find it again.
Yeah, man, it just like disappears into the ether.
It was a white whale.
Yeah, we never found that store again. The second time we visited Japan, we wanted to find it, and we never did.
So I had a similar experience where a lot of times in Japan, there will be figures that are only available in crane game UFO catcher type things.
Oh.
Like they don't sell on the shelf, but obviously they make their way into the used shops. So there was one that I really, really wanted, and I kept on thinking that I could get it, and I wasted like $15 on the crane game, only to then see it in a used store for like $12. So I was like,
what figure is that, may I ask?
It was a One Piece figure. It was
okay.
Ace. Coolest character. Still, I mean, they're still making... He hasn't even been in the manga for like 10 years, and they're still making figures of him, so there you go.
That's crazy.
Is that a spoiler alert? Just kidding.
If you don't know at this point, I mean, like...
No, I didn't really like it. Even I know about it. Sorry, guys.
I'm not a One Piece guy. I just never got into it. It's not my thing. I think Japan will Japan will hate me forever because Japan loves One Piece.
Yep,
like
I can
really,
hear
really.
the pitchforks
Yeah,
in the distance.
Yeah, I can hear the like. What are you talking about? One Piece is the best.
Filthy foreigner.
I know, right?
Fucking casual.
How dare you say that about my Luffy?
I know. All right, so
what else you got for us?
All right, well, I think I'll like kind of skip a couple of things I wanted to talk about, and the final thing I wanted to talk about was trains, just like the whole train infrastructure in Japan. Yeah. Well, number one, Japan loves trains. They love them. Like there's train.
That they do.
There's train enthusiasts that build their own trains in their houses. I mean, America has that too, but I don't think it's nearly as popular as it is in Japan. Like the whole model shops that you see in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
There's just so much that you can buy. But anyway, I wanted to talk about how efficient trains are. The efficiency of trains are crazy. Like you'll look at the train schedule and it'll say this train arrives at 7:04 p.m. and you look at your watch or your phone and it turns 7:04 and that fucker is pulling up, ready to take you where you want to go. It's absolutely nuts.
This is a funny thing because whenever you say, like, on some sort of internet discourse, like, oh, trains in Japan are always on time, there's always that one guy who comes and he's like, that's not how it is. I live in Japan and my train is late like 2 minutes once a month. It's not every day. Like, have you never been on a train in America where, like...
Oh my god.
I've been waiting for the train for 2 times that it should have come and it still hasn't come once. Like,
I don't get how trains cannot be on time. Like there's no traffic on a train. Like you get your dedicated rail to go where you want to go. Yeah. Like I don't understand where this latency is coming from.
Oh, people like took a little bit longer to get on. All right, we'll just speed up a little bit as you're going, and then you'll make it.
Yeah, but Japan has that problem too, because people will like come down the stairs to get onto the train, and they're just like the doors are about to close, but they just like kind of like slide in there real quick, to get in.
Yeah.
So it's not really that much different.
Okay, the doors are closing. Don't come in yet. Don't come in now. Don't come in now. And this guy's like, I'm coming in. Okay, well, he went in. All right, well, no one else go. Okay, that guy went too. Okay,
Yeah.
well, all right, we're leaving.
But like trains are still on time in Japan, so like I don't get why they're always late in America.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I mean, and also the trains. I want to talk about how like nice and clean they are. I mean, like most of the time they're pretty clean. Like I know that compared to let's say the Philly trains, SEPTA, just even compare that, it's just Japan is just on a whole other level, and especially the high, what do you call it, the Shinkansen.
Shinkansen.
That's a whole nother level. It's just fantastic. It's just so clean. It's like, this is very nice. The train doesn't feel like a train. You just like chilling and you get so much leg room. Oh, the leg room is great, right, Steve?
Oh yeah, leg room is so awesome. So
Steve's a tall guy, so he's a little bitch about like sitting still in seats in the airports.
yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the difficult part of trains.
Okay.
In that, if you're just trying to use a map, it's very, very difficult to try to figure out because there's so many lines. Like I think, you were talking about Philadelphia where there's basically one train line. There's one subway line and then there's branching out train lines, but it's very easy to see where you're going. Where if you're just looking at the Tokyo Metro map, it's like,
it's
where should I
confusing.
change? Where should I stay? How much money do I need to pay? Sometimes it's hard to find. Like they always have an English one and a Japanese one above the ticket counters, but sometimes they're like kind of separated, so it's hard to find.
Yeah, and it's hard to read because it's it's like just spaghetti like everywhere because it's so condensed.
Spaghetti.
It looks like a bowl of spaghetti.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is going to sound like an obvious thing, but I can't tell you how many people I've, met up with in Japan from their visiting for some reason and they didn't do this was to get an app.
Yep,
either Jordan or Google Map or whatever, but just get a map and put in your destination and your thing, and it makes life so much easier.
Yeah, it tells you how much you need to spend to get there. It actually tells you. It'll calculate for you how much yen you need to spend on this trip. And
it's funny. Actually, Steve actually helped out a lot of people when we were in Japan. Like, people were confused, and people actually asked Steve for help because Steve actually looked like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, well, because I was looking on my phone, and they were seeing that I was looking stuff up, and they're like, "Hey, I'm trying to get here," and I'm like, "All right, where you got to go?" And I would just show them here. Do you not have Google Maps? Like everyone has Google Maps. What the fuck?
Well, the thing is, they might have that pocket device, So
that's true. But on the same vein,
it all comes back down to that.
Yeah,
I mean, the importance of Wi-Fi. Like, you need take Wi-Fi with you because you don't want to try to work through the Tokyo the metro, especially if you need to change from one train company to the other one, because they don't have. There's too many train lines. There's no map that's like every train line.
Yeah, every possible scenario.
Right. It'd be impossible to read.
Yeah.
And there probably is a map. Someone's going to be like, there is a map. But it's not efficient.
And the train guys in the booths that will sell you a ticket if you don't want to go through the kiosk, they'll try to help you, but it's the language barrier will definitely fuck you over a little bit.
Yeah. There's definitely some people who could, have a little bit better English skill, considering that we're going to have the Olympics soon.
Yeah, that actually happened to us though. When we were going to our first hotel, this is our first Japan trip that we talked about earlier. We had to change trains. We were taking the Haneda Airport's line. I don't think it was called that, but it stopped there, and we had to eventually switch train companies and take that to Shinjuku. Well, they give you a ticket that you use to transfer. You put it into the thing and it lets you go in.
Right.
Well, Flora lost that, and
I did.
Yeah, you did. You dropped it, and we had to buy a new one. But I didn't really know if like I was able to just go over to the kiosk and just buy a transfer ticket. So I asked the guy in the booth, but I was still in like my like anxious no Japanese phase, and I was like, I lost our ticket, and the guy was just like, what? Nani? And it was just like really hard to like communicate with the guy. And eventually, like it came across to him that like we lost the ticket, so he just gave us another one for a couple hundred yen. But yeah, that's like definitely a thing if you need to transfer from one train company to the next, because they're owned.
Lose your ticket.
Because Pato, they're owned by different companies, right? Like the Yamanote line is owned by this company, and the the Chuo line is owned by another company.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's like Tokyo Metro, there's Tobu, there's JR East. There's a whole bunch of different companies, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Then there's even like private rails. There was just like specifically going to one place, like to go to Chinatown in Yokohama. It's like it branches off from the Yokohama station. It's like Yokohama, Chinatown, and then this other place. So it's definitely there's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, it is a lot. But like we said, if you just get an app, Jorodon is a good one. They have an English version, right, for Jorodon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could put in the train names in English in it, or the station names in English, and it works perfectly.
And Google Maps actually pulls from the Jorodon database. So if you don't feel comfortable using Jorodon, you can use Google Maps, and it's the same data.
Yes.
So. Anyway,
all right.
That's...
Well, anything else you wanted to talk about, or Flora?
No, I think that's.
I mean, I have another bunch of ideas I want to talk about, but we go save for another topic, another podcast episode.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's
podcast. This episode's full of trains, Wi-Fi, not getting lost. We're just getting into Japan, and we just can't get out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of unknowns going into Japan. I just didn't really know what to expect. I mean, there's only so much you can Google, only so much that you can YouTube before you finally experience it yourself and get a first-hand experience of like what you're actually going to do. So
I just followed Steve. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah, I mean, I was essentially the tour guide. I sat on my phone for like half the trip, just trying to like figure out how to get to places, because it was a lot.
I think it's this way. I was like, no, it's not that way. Come back.
Yeah, and even like following the itinerary was sometimes vague, because the company that we used, they were like meet in the lobby of like here, but it like may or may not have been our hotel to like pick us up, and I'm just like, what? So it was just like a lot of like flipping back and forth between our itinerary and Google Maps, and just like walking around and trying to figure out where the hell we were at. So it was confusing at first.
I still want to bring up something else too. When you walk around, if you're in Japan, you'll notice there's not many places to rest.
Yes.
So if you're walking, be prepared to not sit down unless you're sitting at a cafe or something like that. There's just no place to rest.
Yeah,
and wear good walking shoes.
Yeah, that was like my biggest gripe about going to Japan in general, because Flora and myself, we live in the suburbs, and there's like.
Well, see, don't lump me with you, Steve. I can walk around for a long time. You cannot. I can walk a very long time. You are just a little bitch about it.
Wow. Really?
Whoa.
Just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm just showing the love. I'm sorry.
Steve on blast.
I know. I was just trying to say that we're just not used to walking around all the time. The majority of our transportation is just getting in our car, driving to work, driving to a restaurant, and it's just a lot of like sitting. So.
I mean, to be fair, we used to do a lot of walking around when we were in school, because we used to go to school in Philly, and I walked and took the train, all that stuff. So it wasn't a foreign concept to me.
That's true. I mean, I was in somewhat shape years ago, but now I'm definitely not, especially with the desk job that I have. There's just no walking for me. So to go to Japan and find out that there's nowhere to rest, there's no benches anywhere, there's no trash cans anywhere. It was just a major change for me.
I remember we were on a train, and you see a bunch of these foreigners. They were sitting on the floor of this train. I'm like, oh, they must be very tired.
Oh yeah. Where was that? That was Kyoto, wasn't it?
and this was a whole bunch of them. I just remember that I was like, yeah, because there wasn't many seats on that train, and they were just forced to sit in the back on the floor. I was like, oh.
I think it was. Oh man, what temple was that? It was the one with the 1,000 torii in Kyoto. What's the name of that?
Oh yeah, I can't remember right now. But
yeah, but there's a train that's nearby, and we were coming back from it, and that was the night it was super packed, right, Flora?
Yeah, it was pretty crowded.
Yeah, there was just a lot of people going home, and yeah, some people just like sat down in the back of the train, and they were all like white. They were all like white people, and I'm like, oh,
Steve did shut up, Steve. Steve did find some like. Steve calls it boyfriend benches. Like when we were on Tommy Road, I was like, "Oh my god, I got to take the store out," and there was this like, I don't know, it's like a half bench. I don't know what the hell you sat on, but like Steve sat on it.
Yeah,
those are great.
Yeah, Pato was with us.
Yeah. Yes, why don't you explain that story?
What, the story of Otome Road?
No, the dude you're talking to, remember?
Well, no,
please tell that story.
Pato can tell that story because he talked to him.
All right, so like Flora mentioned, we were, going shopping for some really niche goods, you could say. And so Steve and I were waiting outside and talking. It's been a while since we'd seen each other. We were having a good time, just like talking about the world, and we noticed that there was a kind of similar thing where there was all these guys sitting outside with on these, like, we called them boyfriend benches, but they were basically like just a bar. Like it was not even really a bench.
Yeah.
And it was more like you could lean on it than actually sit. So there's this guy and his son. They were like standing outside, like leaning on this bench outside the store. So I thought, I was like, haha, women, right? And he just gave me this look like, don't talk to me. He's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, all right, sorry. Just like,
wasn't he like startled because like you talked to him in Japanese and he was just like, the hell?
Yeah, he was like a little bit startled, and maybe I guess no one ever really like struck up a conversation there. It's not really a Japanese thing to do, but
yeah,
I'm not a Japanese person either, so
yeah. So you got an excuse.
I'm not like those people who are like, well, I don't have to follow the rules, but sometimes.
Just to clarify, this store is not a porn store. It's a stationery store. It's like you can buy keychains for all your favorite characters. So this is not one of those unsavory stores, but there was a lot of women in that store. It was really crowded.
You would definitely say the shoppers' demographic was 95% women.
Yeah, for sure.
And 5% men, and a lot of the men were waiting outside.
Definitely.
But yeah, the boyfriend benches I'm glad they were there. It would have been, I don't know. We probably would have sat on the sidewalk or something because there wasn't even any, like, walls to lean against. It was all shop.
No, it's all full of like things you can buy. Like I just know that like I was gonna say now. Oh fuck! I forgot I was gonna say. I was gonna say, like, whenever we walked around, Steve was like, "Where's the boyfriend benches at? I'm tired. Where the boyfriend benches at?" And like
that was like our inside joke for the rest of the trip.
Yeah, and Steve just looked for somewhere to sit down. I'm just like,
I guess Japanese are like too proud to like actually like sit like Indian style on like on the sidewalk. Like I never saw that.
No, Steve. No, Japanese people can. No, they can sit, but like, what's that?
They crouch.
Can't do?
They crouch, right?
Yeah, we can't. Yeah. We cannot crouch. It's like we just can't because we're not used to doing it.
Yeah,
I say we. I'm talking about like Western people.
That's not
typically we can't do it.
Yeah, that's not a move that I generally do in real life. So,
well, so two things. First, I'm not sure if it's a pride thing or just a kind of a not obsession, but like a really strong feelings towards cleanliness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's more like a cleanliness thing. I imagine it, because you're not sitting your butt down with that crouching pose.
Sure.
Well, like, India style, you're sitting your butt down.
In university, I knew some people who were like, you'd go to their dorm room, and they'd be like, "Don't sit on the bed. You were sitting outside before." I was like, Oh, okay.
Wow.
I guess I'll lean against your wall then. Like,
Yeah.
but it kind of ties into like the take off your shoes because you don't want to get your house dirty. Well, if your butt was on the ground, then you're also getting your house dirty when you sit down inside your house.
Sure.
So the other thing
I'm all
is,
about that.
yeah, Japanese, the crouching thing, right? They crouch flat-footed, where American people crouch with their heels up for the most part.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you kind of look like a golfer about like sizing up a putt, like.
Yeah.
So it's hard to stand like that for a while. But Japanese people do that since when they're tiny, since when they're like 1 year old at daycare. They teach them how to do that. So they get those nicely developed muscles and balance, and it's a lot easier for them to do it, which is great because then they do it all the time. But, I've tried to do that, and I always either fall over or like I get really tired after like a minute. I'm like, I wish I was standing.
Yeah, that
And then I end up
just seems
standing
really
back up,
painful.
so.
A painful position.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
But,
us to do.
I guess it's a muscle development thing. You don't use those muscles for anything else but crouching flat-footed.
You can go number 1 or 2 on those toilets with that kind of thing.
That's
anyway,
true.
Right?
That's true.
That's an excellent point too, Flora. Actually, but maybe
It's
there's
just-
a necessity.
that
for,
pose is so
having...
hard. Like I have been to other countries where I'm like, oh my god, I have no choice. It just does not end very well. I had many horrible times as a lady.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we covered a good amount of topics. Before we finish, I'm gonna do a little promotion. Have you ever had a situation where you're like, I have an extra $1 this month and I don't know what to do with it? Well, guess what? I will take that $1 and I will use it to make our podcast better. We have opened up a super fan subscription package where for one single $1 a month, we will thank you and mention your name on the show. And that's about it for now. Maybe we'll make some real goals in the future. But, if you were like, man, I wish I could give this $1 to Aniki Nikki, but I can't. Well, now you can. So check out our Podbean page, anikiniki.podbean.com, and you can see it on the links there. So if that's something you're interested in, do that. Otherwise, don't. That is fine too. All right. Well, thanks for listening today. If you're new or haven't gotten around to it, you can subscribe to us at the previously mentioned link, anikiniki.podbean.com, or search Aniki Nikki on iTunes. We also have a Facebook. We've got a couple comments lately. It's been really neat. So go to our Facebook page at Aniki Nikki Pod. We have Twitter as well at Aniki Nikki Pod. And if you have any suggestions about future episodes, maybe you want to share some of your Japanese experience, why don't you send us an email at anikiniki@gmail.com. All right, well, that's it for today. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.